doing one of the very hardest jobs for me in the garden right now, which is thinning beets or carrots or any vegetable for that matter. I find it excruciatingly painful because we worked so hard to prep the soil and to get good germination on these seeds, and now I'm just coming along and plucking them out like their life never mattered. But I learned a hard lesson last year about thinning, and I'm determined to stick to it because I spent some time in my friend Grace's garden, and she is a meticulous thinner. And when I helped her pull some of her beets for market, she ended up with baseball-sized beets that were just gorgeous. And I, in the meanwhile, was pulling out wads of greens like this, and the beets were, the tip of my pinky because they were all so intertwined and intergrown. So I'm determined to do this as hard as it is, just leaving a few inches between each beet so it has room. We thought it would be helpful if I gave you a little walkthrough tour of all the gardens right now because there's so much going on. So much is germinating and blooming, so come along. So in our very top garden right now, which we call the market garden, for no other reason than all the produce is grown in market style rows. So we've got our collard greens in, along with our kale and spinach beds. So these are coming along nicely. We still need to lay down mulch in the pathways to try and work on those weeds. But the grasses that you see growing are rye grasses that we planted last fall as a cover crop. The spinach is planted just far enough apart that we can run our stand-up hoe through really easily to weed. It's just getting its first little true leaves. It's a teeny tiny little spinach. We have 5 vacant rows still here in the market bed, but these are going to be reserved for some summer crops like corn and green beans and peppers, things that will need some more room. So they're just going to hang out for a little while longer. These 2 beds right here are a complete labor of love. This one is full of heirloom leeks called Pandora. I started these leeks from seed about a month ago in the greenhouse. And the thing about leeks is instead of having a big root system, they each have about 1 root. And so it's just like transplanting these little fine green hairs, but the taste is worth it. This bed is all red storage onions. My hope is that we've grown enough for us to eat as many onions as we can possibly muster all winter long. So we've given ourselves a huge bed of them to run with. And then that's followed up by some Chinese cabbage and some broccoli rabe. These ones were also started in the greenhouse in early March and transplanted out last week. They seem to be doing well. Oh, look. Honeybee found one. I've been gardening for about 10 years, and of course the first few of that were, gardening is a very vague term for what I was doing, but I have never successfully grown broccoli, and I'm not sure why. But this year, look at this. I mean, there's no broccoli on them yet, but I feel like there potentially could be broccoli, and that's giving me a lot of hope. What I love about these 2 is they're so easy to weed. Much easier than onions. This big long bed is one I'm really excited about. This was another crop I learned to grow from Grace last year, and these are storage carrots. So you see these teeny tiny little starts right here. That's a carrot seed. And they take forever to germinate. They're extremely slow. But this bed has been broad forked to oblivion, so I'm really hoping that their roots have a lot of room to go down and that we can get good, long, big, straight carrots this year. That's the hope anyway. I spent about 2 hours weeding this bed a few days ago, and I already need to do it again, but that's just going to be the battle we face this year. The last 2 beds in the market garden right now are yellow storage onions. And then this final bed in the market garden for our spring garden is this whole big row of potatoes. And I'm really excited about this one, again, because it was broad forked. For the first time ever, we're doing this. And Because the soil's already broken up and it's got that oxygen down in there, I'm really hoping that we can get a good crop and that the roots have a long way to go. I've grown potatoes a lot in the past, and the harvest just been kind of dismal. So that's where the market garden is right now as of the middle of April, but come check out the potager. So we planted 2 trees right here on our way to the potager. Elephant heart plum, I think it's called, and a hawthorn tree. I want like massive trees. This property has none. And look, a perfect half-built wattle fence, because half-built is our specialty. So this is the top of the potager, and we have been so busy planting in here that we haven't really picked up the trash, so no judgment, okay? But we do have a few things that have come back that are starting to make it beautiful, like our comfrey and our yarrow and even some of the lavender. Last fall I planted a bunch of bulbs all around the potager gardens, and you can slowly start to see some of them coming up, like this hyacinth. These are daffodils, and I'm pretty sure there's some more crocus hidden in this too. One of the plants I've been trying to get in this garden for years and it's just never worked out is lady's mantle, which is one you see a lot in cottage garden books. It's kind of tall and airy and a chartreuse green color. Well, I finally got some from Bluestone Perennials, and it came and it was alive, and so far it's still alive. It's been a ton of fun this year in the potager garden because I haven't been so worried about yield, and so I've been able to actually give crops the amount of space that they're supposed to have. So far in this garden, we've got cauliflower, kales, leeks, onions, green onions, potatoes, garlic, and then just some fun things like radicchio and romaine lettuce and endive and things we don't need a ton of, but they're still fun to eat. Come look at this. Now, I know this bed isn't much to look at yet. That's mostly because we keep replacing windows and trampling everything while we do it. But one thing has survived, and that is this gorgeous grape hyacinth, which I love the way it kind of just naturalizes itself. It's only for a few brief weeks a year that it blooms, but it's totally worth it when it does. I don't know how many of you have ever used or heard of celeriac, but it's a really easy perennial to grow. And that's what this is here. It has a little bit stronger flavor than celery, but very similar flavor. And we love to dry it and use it in stocks and soups throughout the winter, or even grind it up with salt and then dehydrate it. It's really yummy flavoring. And these things just grow tall and crazy, and they're just these beautiful bright green shoots in a summer garden. I have a total soft spot for bright red geraniums, and that's what I've put in these window boxes, which is right next to our kitchen, so we get to see them all the time. Here's to hoping I don't kill them. The last spot on the grand tour today is the courtyard. So if you guys remember when we first moved in, this was a Trek decking with a broken hot tub and not much else. So over the past 2 years, we've transformed it into this place. Starting with this beast right here, which is our wisteria, our pride and joy. And it's just about ready to bust out. These raised beds were all produced using that Scandinavian method, I can't think of the name, where you layer down the wood, like the logs of wood, and then bark, and then dirt, and it kind of creates these beautiful mounds that sort of decompose really slowly and feed the garden. That's what all these beds are. And so they've just been freshened up with new flowers and new bulbs. They're still very new. Last fall, I planted these heirloom daffodils that are to die for. Come look.